It's very simple. You know, we know that God revealed himself to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We know that God spoke to the prophets. Then why are we having such a difficult time in him speaking to us today? God's love cannot be measured. It's boundless. But yet we have Christian evangelists and Muslim scholars telling their followers that God no longer speaks to them, and if they want to hear the plan of God for their lives, well, guess what? They're going to share it with them. But how could they know the plan of God? How could any prophet know the plan of God unless God speaks to them? And each individual person, you can read it in the Bible, you can read it in the historical facts of the prophet the Muslims follow, that what he spoke to him or them was unique and is unique. Because each one of them were born in different eras at different times and in different situations. God didn't speak to Jeremiah like he spoke to Isaiah. God didn't speak to Moses like he spoke to Abraham. And he certainly didn't speak to Elijah the way he spoke to other prophets. But yet, people think, of Christian evangelists and Muslim scholars think, that God would ever have burdened them, which would he ever burden men with sharing his plan with all mankind? This is a God who takes an individual interest in each person. He didn't speak to the multitudes of people in Pharaoh's time. He spoke to Pharaoh. He didn't speak to multitudes of people in Moses' time. He spoke to Moses. And Moses is the one that obeyed the voice of God. But we have people telling us that God no longer speaks to his children. How could that be? Who could ever muzzle the mouth of God? And how can you know him through the words of another man? That would be impossible. How could we ever know the expanse of God? How was Moses supposed to go up to the Red Sea and obey God and see it part? How was Abraham going to have a child in his later years if God didn't speak to him? It is impossible to know the mind of a creator of the universe except he reveal it to us through his mouth. Of course God spoke to me. God spoke to me and gave me peace. No longer is there this conflict in my mind. No longer am I burdened with this conflict, this arguing in my mind. God settled it with 4 words. And that was a word to me. And that's the way God brings peace to his children. Of course, the last time God used me was in Greece. And he has used me in several vacations, and I'm in the water, and here comes this guy on the dock, and I'm struggling. Again, I'm in the water, he's on the dock, and he's praying to the sun or something. I don't know what he was doing. Has his hands out, and he's praying. I said, "What are you doing?" And I kind of fought it, because I was there on a vacation. But I knew eventually I was going to talk to this man. And I shared the love of God with him, and that God wants to speak to him, not through the doctrines, traditions, and men's commands. That will never give you peace. And that's why you don't have peace today. But I spoke to him that God wants to speak individually to you and bring you peace in your situation. I spoke to him for over an hour. And we shared back and forth. And you know, I never saw him on that dock again, and I saw him on that dock every day while I was at that beach. After I spoke to him, he was no longer there because I shared the love of God with him, not the doctrines, commands, and traditions of men, but that God desires to speak to his people. It's always been that way, and always will be that way. I don't care how much doctrine you know, how much men's commands you know. I don't care if you can quote the Bible or the Quran verbatim. That is what God spoke to someone else. And God wants to speak to you and bring you peace.